Falling Stars by Plate Crowd 5610. Fourth part of Hunting Nemesis. Chapter 3. Distress Signal. Summary. The Autobots receive a distress signal from a Decepticon comm line. Ratchet grumbled as he picked up the datapad off his lab table and started looking it over. It was another late morning, filled with tedious repairs and endless notes, and his patience was already wearing thin. The faint ping 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 echoing from the comm system made him groan in annoyance. Settling the pad back down with a little more force than necessary, he headed over to the human-made monitor that was barely holding it together. "What is it now?" he muttered, pressing the button to accept the incoming signal, but as the words blinked across the screen, his irritation snapped into alarm. "In need of immediate medical assistance. Human in danger. Come immediately." Ratchet's optics widened. It originated from a Decepticon comm line. Following the message was a set of coordinates that led to the middle of nowhere. "Optimus!" Ratchet called out. "Come look at this!" The weighted sound of PDs echoing through the base as the Prime made his way to Ratchet. Ace, Bulkhead, and Bumblebee followed close behind, abandoning their tasks without a second thought. "What is it, Ratchet?" Optimus asked, his voice deep, laced with concern. Ratchet pointed to the screen. "A distress signal! A Decepticon distress signal!" Everyone looked at the monitor and read it for themselves. Optimus stepped closer, optics narrowing. "Where do the coordinates lead, Ratchet?" "To the middle of a forest, somewhere in Canada," Ratchet replied. Ace's optics narrowed. "Do you think it could be a trap? Something the Decepticons set up to lure us in?" Bulkhead crossed his arms with a metal clang against his chest plate. "Wouldn't be the first time they pulled something like this." "Perhaps," Optimus said carefully. "But if this distress signal is genuine, and there are indeed lives in danger, we cannot disregard it." "They could just be saying that because they know we would want to save the human," Ace retorted. Ratchet tilted his head thoughtfully. "We are aware that they have a human in their custody. As far as they know, we have no idea about him. They don't know of our connection to Nurse Darby. It would be a very strange ploy to bring it up if they assume we were unaware." Optimus straightened. "Even if the human isn't there, this is still a distress signal, and someone, Decepticon or otherwise, could be injured. We cannot allow doubt to compromise our values. If there is even a chance that this signal is true, we have a duty to respond." Ratchet sighed, pinching his temples with his service. "Still, we need to be prepared for the worst. If it is a trap, it may require immediate evacuation." "Agreed," Optimus said, glancing at the team. "Ratchet, Bulkhead, Ace, you are with me. Bumblebee, I need you to remain at the base and monitor the ground bridge." Bumblebee gave a beep of affirmation before turning to the console. "I will prepare for medical emergencies," Ratchet said, already pulling his travel medkit from the shelf nearby. "I suggest we stick together. If this is a Decepticon ploy to trap us, the last thing we need is to be separated." Optimus turned towards the portal. "Bumblebee, activate the ground bridge." The scout pulled down on the lever, and the swirling green vortex whooshed to life. "Let's hope this is nothing more than a simple patch job," Ratchet muttered. With that, they stepped through the portal, weapons ready. That distress signal flashed ominously on the monitor behind them. Danny's breath was caught in his throat. He didn't know who these guys were or what they were here for. His eyes darted between the group and back to Starscream, whose spark chamber was exposed to the open air. Bleeding Amerigon faster than Danny could mend. This is not good. He held tightly onto his ectoblaster. Danny didn't have the energy to fight these bots right now, but at least the blaster was something. All 4 sets of optics snapped to Danny and Starscream instantly, some weapons faltering before being pulled back up at the ready. Optimus, is that Starscream? The blue Phoebe asked, her optics flickering from Danny to the Seeker and back again. The largest mech, Optimus, paused, his gaze more focused on Danny than Starscream. It is indeed, Ace, he answered, tone unreadable. Optimus. Danny knew that name. Why did he know that name? His brain was so fizzled. Danny probably looked like a terrified deer in the headlights right now. Ace stepped closer, her blaster still raised. Danny particularly growled at her. She paused, raising an optic ridge. In response, Danny looked over her again. He recognized her. Then it suddenly clicked. She was the one who had attacked Knockout for that price of tech all those months ago, which means you guys are Autobots, Danny said. It wasn't a question. Who else could they be? The blaster creaked under Danny's grip. He wasn't sure he could hold off 4 Autobots, especially with Starscream in such critical condition. Any stray blast that hit him would be devastating. The Autobots were the Decepticons' mortal enemies. Danny had seen the damage they dealt out in their fights, the number of Venticons that didn't come back from the mines after an Autobot attack. He had seen the results and pain left behind. He couldn't let them hurt Starscream. Optimus stepped closer. We are, the mech confirmed, his voice deep and resonant. Danny narrowed his eyes, arms quivering slightly. He couldn't tell if it was from fear, exhaustion, or both. He hadn't slept in over 28 hours, and every muscle in his body screamed for rest, but he stood his ground. Don't come any closer, he snarled. Grip on her blaster tightening, but not alarming to anyone yet. He really didn't want to escalate this. To his surprise, the Big Mac stepped back, respecting his warning. Danny didn't expect a bot that size to listen to a human, especially one so clearly on edge of collapse. Danny's weakened core pulsed protectively. I won't let you hurt him, he snapped, planting his feet more firmly, ignoring the sound of the Imeragon swooshing under his feet. The Autobots exchanged glances, their expression unreadable, but Danny could sense something in their fields, something close to shock or maybe confusion. Suddenly, the big green bot at the back let out a deep, rumbling laugh. The humans protecting Screamer? That's hilarious. Danny shot the mech a venomous glare, his teeth grinding together in frustration. Optimus tilted his helm, his expression hard to read due to the battle mask he was wearing. Bright blue optics scanned over Danny. It was the same look his sister, Jazz, gave him when she was trying to figure Danny out. Trying to figure out why he was doing something. But right now, it just made Danny feel exposed and analyzed. Starscream is also losing a significant amount of Imeragon. A new, rough voice cut through. Danny's eyes snapped to the speaker. An older mech with worn, battle-hardened blue optics. His armor was orange and white, but the medical symbol along his forearm planting were unmistakable. He looked like a walking junkie version of one of Knockout's travel medkits. A flicker of hope sparked in Danny's field. Are you a medic? His voice cracked, betraying his desperation. The Autobot nodded. I am. Danny's throat tightened. Can you help him? His words came out more pleading than he intended, but he didn't care. He was out of options. Starscream was dying, and so far, Danny wasn't doing enough to keep him online. The mech was the only chance he had left. The Autobots hesitated. Their paws stretched on for what felt like an eternity, and with every second, Danny's flicker of hope dwindled. They didn't want to help. Of course they didn't. Starscream was their enemy, the second in command of the Decepticons, and now they had him vulnerable at their PDs. one blast right now, and panic clawed at his chest, but he forced himself to speak. Please, his voice wavered. Please, he's really hurt, and there's no other option. He's lost too much Emergon, and I don't know what to do. Just help him. At least get him stable. I will get you enough Emergon to replace whatever you use. Plus more. I just don't let him die. The words tumbled out in a desperate rush. Then he wasn't even sure if he was making sense anymore. His head spun, exhaustion weighing him down, but he couldn't stop. This was their only chance. Starscream's only chance. For a moment the Autobots remained silent, their expressions unreadable. The tension was unbearable. Then he could feel Starscream's EM field weakening, slipping further away, and his own core pulsed harder in response, trying to reach out to him in some way, in any way. Then finally the mech cleared his throat. I will see what I can do, kid, he said, stepping forward. Then he let out a deep sigh of relief, but his muscles tensed instinctively as the mech approached. The bot paused for a moment, studying Danny with an unreadable expression, before continuing towards Starscream. Danny watched as the medic's PD squished down into the ever-glowing puddle of Emergon, soaking into the dirt below them. Then he grimaced at the sight, but the other bots didn't seem to care, fully focused on Starscream's injury. Ace tried to step closer as well, weapon still raised. Only the medic can get closer. Danny snapped, his voice hard despite his exhaustion. Ace's optics narrowed into a glare, but Optimus held his service, motioning for her to step back. Ratchet will be fine on his own, he said, his voice calm. Starscream is in no state to cause harm. The big green mech huffed. You can't be serious, Optimus. You're taking orders from the kid now? Danny ignored the comment, focusing back on the mech. Ratchet, he corrected. Then he stepped back slightly, positioning himself protectively over the Seeker's vulnerable spark. Ratchet's optics widened as he took in the extent of Starscream's injuries, placing his medkit down next to him. By the Allsparks. Yeah, Danny replied bitterly. Ratchet immediately set to work on the worst of the gashes and leaking Emergon lines. How did this happen? Ratchet demanded, the tone slipping into the same one that Knockout used when he was in a serious surgery. It was clear he hadn't even noticed the missing wing yet. Danny's teeth grounded together. Megatron. He spat venom dripping from every word. The frigging bastard. He is. Ratchet glanced up briefly, his optics meeting Danny's. It was hard to read the bot's expression. After a beat, Ratchet's glance flickered over Danny's body and to where he stood, in Starscream's open chest. Get out of there, Ratchet told him, his voice firm. You are too close to his spark. Then he didn't budge. No, I'm not leaving him unprotected. If I move, you have an open shot at his spark. I'm not letting that happen. Ratchet stared him down. Kid, it's my job to heal and protect. I'm not gonna... You're also in a war, Danny shot back, his voice rising. Being a healer doesn't mean you can't hurt someone. It just means that you know the best ways how. So forgive me for being defensive over my friend, who is seconds away from offlining because his sociopathic boss beat him within an inch of his life for trying to protect me. And now we are surrounded by enemies who have been trying to kill him and his entire faction for thousands of years. So no, I'm staying right here. For a long moment, they just stared at each other, tension crackling between them. Danny's core pulsed, refusing to back down. To his surprise, the medic finally broke eye contact and looked back down at Starscream's injuries. After a brief pause, Ratchet sighed and shouted over his shoulder, Optimus, Bullcat, help me lift him. We need to get him back to base. And plugged into spark support immediately. The two mechs moved without hesitation, their massive frames looming as they approached. Danny's field spiked defensively. Ace, however, was less convinced. We can't bring him to the base, she protested, her tone sharp. Can't you do the work here? He will be offline in a few clicks if you don't move him now. Ratchet replied, his voice leaving no room for argument. We will restrain him if necessary, but right now, getting him stable is the priority. Optimus? He glanced up to the larger mech. I trust you, old friend, Optimus said. Bulkhead leaned down to help grab Starscream by the arms. He noticed Danny still standing in Starscream's open chest. Come on, kid. Get out of there, he grumbled, waving a massive service towards Danny. Danny crouched down further, shielding Starscream's spark with his own body. No, I'm not moving. Bulkhead looked to Roger desperately for guidance, but the mech just shook his helm. Leave him. Roger directed the others on how to lift Starscream without jolting his injuries too much. The moment the Seeker was lifted from the ground, another gush of Emergon poured from the gaping wound where his wing had been torn off. Danny's eyes widened in alarm. His wing! It's over there! He pointed towards the spot where the severed limb had landed when he faced them through the Nemesis floor. Please tell me you can reattach it. Ratchet's optics widened as he took in the new injury. Let's focus on keeping him online first, he said grimly. He glanced back at Ace. Grab the wing and any other pieces you can find. Ace hesitated for a moment before transforming her weapon back into service and moving to collect the pieces. Optimus reached up to his audiole, sending a comm. B, open the ground bridge. Danny stared as the glowing green portal appeared, just where it had been. The Autobots took no time rushing through the ground bridge. Danny placed a shaking hand on Starscream's plating. You will be okay. You will be okay. He switched to Roscion. Please, please, be okay, he whispered.